So all right, there's the other side of the spectrum, I guess, as well. So like they're single coils, and I've gone to great lengths to explain the single coil neck. And of course, the other side of that equation, on my main rig, is the bridge pickup. So yeah, like I was saying, the reason for that, it's all metal really. I mean, there's tracks that I've done. I mean, a good example that require let's give you the sound quickly. Brutally fat on a Les Paul style guitar. So I'll give you a very quick example of a bridge pickup in its full full range of use. So yeah, you get it. It's like you go from like a dirty to a clean sound, and it's like, in that particular track, it's interesting. When you're creating heavy sounds, I like to quite often stack and quite often sculpt, and because it's a very vast universe. If I generally like to use like very tiny amounts of gain stacked. So, and that includes with an amp. So it might be an amp that has a very tiny amount of gain. And that sound on its own is marvellous, right? Great for like any guitar playing, really, going right from sort of, going right from skiffle shit, like all the way up to what, to Slipknot. It's like, it's just, that wonderful sound, a guitar amp, that little bit of breakup on a guitar amp. So, and then you stack like elements of that together to get the final distorted piece. And it's about, you're getting as much low and high and dynamic as you can. Part of the reason for doing it in the studio, I guess, with pedals, it's like that, because the traditional mode of stacking is like a tube screamer going into a JCM 800. Okay, that's stacking at its most fundamental, and that's the sound I love. Like that's the sound, JCM 100, like beautifully fucking driven, and then a tube screamer in there just to give it that like bite and that growl and that edge and that sort of like tightness. For thrash, this is, right? I don't know whether it's thrash, but my sort of like. Type of shit. And it's like fucking. It really does suit that. So that's like fundamental stacking. Then you get like, like a Rat or a DS1, like turned right down with an overdrive pedal, like a tube screamer in front of that, also turned right down. And it's like that. And what that does is in the studio, if you're just going into like some kind of like, studio amp, or studio setup where it's just preamps, direct recording systems and shit, it gives you like a bit of valvey playfulness. It gives you like a valvey playfulness. It's a bit random. It's like, you could basically sort of, you can hear in like a distortion or an overdrive pedal a certain amount of repeating sort of symmetry, so like a certain pattern in it. And like, let's say the pattern looks like that. right? And it's like that. And then you put like a drive pedal in front of it, and the pattern's like this, right? And you put the two together, and then suddenly you're getting this unevenness in the shape, right? Because the two don't fit exactly correctly. One's an inch and one's like a fucking... One's an inch and one's 2 centimeters, right? And like, so there's a wobble, and it gives it, so it's an almost organic wobble. It's so like, there's no, like there's fluidity in it, because it's like, there's no like mathematicalness to the ear. It's not mechanical all of a sudden. And so that to my ear, at least, gives it a sort of valvey playfulness, and that's why I stack pedals in the studio with things like tranny amps and direct recording and shit like that. And you know, a lot of it is, you know, it's like being in war and doing guerrilla warfare. A lot of it is like I'm determined to get like the full fucking gamut of sounds in headphones, you know, like, you know, in survival mode. I mean, I have the freedom to turn up my tube amp here, like, you know, right now, but it's like, you know, I live on an estate, you know, there's a house, I could chuck a tennis ball and hit the wall of the house, like, out the window that way. And I've got, like, a neighbour that way that's like, it's like a set, you know, I'm at the end of, like, a terrace. I think they're semi anyway, there's an alleyway in between them, so, but, like, so there's a shared wall, right, with us and the neighbours. So it's like, you can't go fucking nuts, do you know what I mean? So, you know, it's always a contained, like, environment. But anyway, like, yeah, the you know, the humbucker in the bridge is just like a great sound, I love it. So, like, let's go, that's the Les Paul, and you heard that. Like, let's actually have a listen to some different, like, humbuckers. So we'll start with like my LTD, and these are the stock pickups in it. I think LH 150s. Very nice clean sound. I mean, this gets tops marks for the clean sound, and the drive sound, full body, very dynamic, very crisp. All right, then we'll move on to the Yamaha. See why this ends up getting used as a workhorse quite a bit, because it's just there. You know, it's a very dark, very full-bodied sound, very suited to the sort of like heavy stuff that I write. The clean sound, it's not up there with the LTD, but it's not bad. And I can always switch the coil in if I wanted to, or go completely single coil. But there's a, yeah, the way I have it set up, I like the volume disparity, so I've lowered the middle pickup a hell of a lot to get that volume disparity. Because actually, Yamaha are very thoughtful, and there's no volume disparity between the single coil and the humbucker. They've been very good about it. So I had to actually put that back in. I know that sounds ridiculous, because like, but we discussed it. Well, I discussed it. At the beginning of the of part one of this volume disparity, and why I like it. But yeah, it does sound good clean. I think this guitar looks great, and it is my workhorse here. I mean, it's like the first guitar I pick up to lead me to what else. If I go into like this coil mode, you know, and I find myself sort of doing it. So yeah, it's middle position, right? If I find myself, you know, doing that, you know, then it's time to get the Telecaster out, right? But if I'm sort of sat there and I'm like fucking giving it the old... Cacti in DOD 250 mode. If I'd have told you that was a DOD 250, you'd have believed it. Getting creative right in front of you there. Such a great sound though, such a sort of like great raspy, spitty, fucking warm, like big muffy sort of sound. But you know, it can actually also be used like a tube screamer. It's a wonderful fucking pedal, and that's what, you know, it's great art. Sometimes you need a great curator to tell you why a piece of art is good. Like Rothko, Mark Rothko was like that for me. I didn't get it. It just looked like blobs of fucking colour. It just like big blocks of colour. It looked like the laziest fucking art imaginable. And then a good curator stood in front of a piece and talked about it. And all of a sudden it was like a switch in my head. Boom. Oh, I get it. And it was mind blowing. And ever since I can really like deep fucking throb with the work of like Mark Rothko. And it's like sometimes you need a good curator to kind of translate for you, you know. It's like a foreign language and you're not getting it, so you need a translator. It's sort of like that. Sometimes you need a good curator. Josh from JHS, you know, the pedal channel and the pedal maker JHS, Josh, you know, has done the 250 like sort of tribute pedal, and he did the big bodied one, like, you know, like a nod to the original in like a very short, like in 250 models. I mean, he's just such a pedal geek, it's wonderful. But like him in that show going on about all of that really made me think, oh, can I model that? I'm sure I can model that. I've got a model of that somewhere. And sure enough, in the Line 6, there's a good model of the original. And so I was playing with that, and it then turns out the Crazy Cacti can do it. It's got that aspect to it, because there's a lot of switching and grubbering. And lo and behold, it's something I've really gotten into. And so, yeah, sometimes, you know, great art needs a good curator. Anyway, back to the drive sound of the day, which I'm trying to be sort of like a sort of, you know, James Hetfield, Jeff Hanneman, Gary Holt, fucking Scott Ian approximation. That's why there's a bit of reverb on there, which there usually isn't. I'm going to turn that down just a touch. From what are we at? We're at 10 to 3, between 2 and 3, but like more towards 3. I'd say it's like, you know. Anyway, so I'm going to turn it down to 2. Now I can't hear it at all. Yeah, a bit of a lumpy control on that. Alright, I'm going to go then 2.5. Yeah, now I'm going to go like between 2.5 and 2. Split the difference, as John always used to say. God bless your soul, John, I miss you. Yeah, that's it. Interesting. Little sweet spot. Interesting. So So let's have the Stag Nitro, because this is a guitar that puts me in a good mood just to look at. It is in an exceptionally clean state. It was restrung. Clemens, I love it, man. Everything here has got the same strings on it. So it's the first time everything's had the same strings. So everything, it's a worthy comparison. There's no excuses. Everything is what it sounds like, with very few exceptions. I mean, yeah, Clemens, man, bloody love you, bro. Like fucking, that in itself has been a constant source of fucking happiness and positivity in these stormy times. The fact that everything's strung up nicely. I can't tell you what that means. Fucking thank you so much, brother. You know, it was such a lovely thing to do. So the Stag Nitro, yeah, you know, this is a guitar I get immense pleasure just looking at. Because the little touches, you know, I put a silly white strap button there. I didn't want to put one at the bottom because it gets stood up, so it would just break, wouldn't it? And you know, the switch gear and stuff, just getting it all colour matched with the pickups and the checkerboard. You know, and because it was sort of looking, you know, it's typical sort of telly when I got it, and like just those little touches have made it mine. You know, it's like, and I love doing stuff like that. All of my guitars, you'll see there's just some little touch that makes it mine. Like how it might be very, very subtle, but there's like, you know, some little touch that makes it mine. And it's like, I like to bring out I like to bring out a character that I think is already there. Now, I've made a fucking mistake. I did the Scotch, I polished this guitar up, fucking set it up, everything, like really everything's clean as fuck. I mean, look at that, you know, it's clean as fuck, and yeah, like all the way. But I polished everything up, but the neck I Scotch-Brite and gave it a satin finish, and it's no quicker. It's no quicker. I even need to go deeper or put the polish back on, I don't know, but I regret it. But I did it to a pattern, so there's like, you know, there's a beginning and an end on a line, so it like looks proper, and I kind of like how it looks, because it's like, oh yeah, like that's like a speed, you know, but it doesn't feel any different, you know, it's still like the same speed. No, this isn't a big deal, it's just what I prefer. Anyway, let's hear what she sounds like, because you know full well this is my favourite heavy guitar for recording, so... And you can see why. I need to investigate. Yeah, you know, it's like I say, it's the one I record with, so definitely like, you know, at some point I found it to be my fave. Right, this is surely a cracker as well. You all know this one. The Bloody V, which I guess is now like a Stranger Things V. Yeah. Well, people are going to start saying, oh, it's a Stranger Things. No. Yeah, Kerry King had the Stranger Things wall up way before fucking Munson. I wonder if that's what the actual nod was in the show, because it's like the Hellfire Club, Slayer. I mean, like, pick a Slayer guitar. Nobody's picked up on that. And yeah, I know he had a V, but he also did have a fucking, he had a Warlock, you know, it's BC Rich, like. Until he had the tribal stuff. That was like after, like, you know, it wasn't until like the year 2000s that he got into that tribal shit. Like I think he had one in 98, like 97, 98, and it was very, very sort of basic. And then yeah, like so come the millennium, after the new metal thing, it's like yeah, really embraced that tribal thing. And that's his whole shtick now, isn't it? Like every guitar he's got is a tribal. But yeah, before that he used like fucking blood splatter and like, you know, hazards, all sorts of shit. But yeah, lots of spiky black and red combos, like tiger stripe, black and red and shit, all sorts. Yeah, this is definitely like my Kerry King guitar. I love it. But yeah, I've talked all over fucking what it sounds like, and it sounds fucking amazing. Now, listen carefully, right? Because like, if I was to sort of want to record authentic Bay Area thrash like Gary Holt, fucking James Hetfield, right? If I wanted to capture that sound, this is it, the most of any of them. Sounds nice clean too. So, you know, this is definitely among my favourites as well. I absolutely fucking love it. Yeah, it's my favourite Les Paul in the house. But no, they make a nice pair. I think, you know, they're very different. The Les Paul is fucking super heavy. It's also a pain in the arse to fucking keep in stable tune. It's had a string change, and I did the intonation and everything. This had a similar process to the Nitro, and I'm going to do it again at some point because it's just like it's not set up right. This one's going to have to go back to 10 to 52s. This does not like 10 to 46s. Just cannot get it to fucking like behave itself. But it sounds great. Like again, you've just heard the Flying V, which is gutsy, right? Listen to this. So yeah, right, so that's about round the houses with the humbuckers. I didn't do a Strat, I will admit that, we didn't do a Strat. Didn't do a couple of things. Or the Golden Goose. Now I'll have to do the Golden Goose because it's got the new DiMarcios in it. So let's get this one a quick go with this fucker because this does sound amazing. So this is DiMarcio Distortions. Yeah, man, I gotta say I like the all black look as well. I think that looks fucking that looks great. Yeah, they're meaty again. They're like trad. Yeah, they're fucking not far from the Invader copies. Like, they're a bit better. They're like, they've got a more classic sound, and like the level is kind of, I'm sure they've nibbled down the level a little bit from like the originals. Like, it's still fucking loud, but it's not like Invader loud, and it's not crazy like on a like the way that like those old fucking the old originals, like they're a bit too much. Like, they're a bit too much. They can never clean up. But yeah, there we are. Like, that's your lot. This is a set of 8s, so please don't judge the sound. Yeah, that's my pickup set. I'll get into that another day when this guitar's properly set up. It just isn't. With these light strings, it just isn't. But because they were new, like these were the only one with new strings before I got the consignment of wonderful strings. And yeah, I'm gonna have to take them off. But that pickup's got to be repaired also. So I'm gonna get back to the grind, and I think the Yamaha, because it's the workhorse. And I think in a bit, when I'm going to have a bit of fun, I'll get the Flying V going. But that was great. I adore, you know, generating the metal sounds. It's like my favourite part of the job is dialing in like a fucking thrash tone. And like, you know, it's the one thing, everybody's got their guitar knowledge and it can be specific and like, you know, I've got some odd bits, like for instance, like the other day, an amazing guy, Hiram, playing with Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I was like, oh, that fucking Strat, my God. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, sunburst, rosewood, clay dots, small headstock, and looking at the style and the feel of it, really hard to sort of quantify, but like, you know, yeah, the sort of visual tone of like the finish and all that. I thought, that's a 59 Strat, and it had like 2 humbuckers in it with a single coil in the middle. I love this guy. And this was like in the 90s, like, or the late 80s or the early 90s, and I thought they looked like out of a jazz, because they were so shiny but so old. I thought they've got to be out of a jazz guitar, and it turns out they are. It was like fucking, you know, I am not bad at looking and spotting. I did kind of like get a good education on vintage guitars. I do know a lot, not a massive amount, but you know, I know about vintage guitars. Like, I can identify like Les Pauls, and you know, I know the lore to a certain extent. I know the lore of the classics, you know, like the big 3, the Telly, the Strat, the Les Paul. I know, got a good grip on it. And then after that, it's very patchy. It's like very like specific. Like, you talk to me about thrash guitarists, and like I'll talk to you about what guitars they play. Like, I absolutely adore them. For some reason, like, I'm just bang into it. And it was like the reason I went with LTD. It's like the reason I chose the F. You know, it was like the reason I've chosen many of my guitars is because of thrash players. And there's something I'm trying to achieve with that sound. I'm not sure that I would call my music thrash, but like definitely thrash is at the heart of it. You could go, okay, like Slayer and Bob Dylan are at the heart of it. And that's not a joke. You know, you've heard my acoustic stuff, right? So, you know, I'm on, and I'm trying to get the merge in places, and you know, it's a tough one to maintain a creative identity through those totally fucking opposite genres and keep it all together. Very difficult tightrope to walk, I can assure you. But that, you know, that's the joy of being a creative person and having a creative journey to be on. That's my life, and you know, regardless of what goes on outside of it, like fucking that is my life. It's just, there's a creative journey and there's a goal, there's a product at the end. In this case, like, you know, I lay in that hospital bed and like I thought life is too fucking short. Like, I have to put my mark in the stone. I want that double LP. I've told you about it. But like, yeah, that's basically how I'm going to make the sounds of it. You know, with a single coil at the neck and a humbucker at the bridge, and a gamut of distortions. So yeah, today I used, well, you see what the rig was. So I was, yeah, line 6. With 2 expression pedals, crazy drive section, you know. And today it's the metal core doing the heavy lifting. Great fucking pedal. Going into a stereo amp setup, orange and the old Honer. So like, I think that's about it. Like I said in the other video, like, welcome any comments and discourse and any questions for sure. And let's complete the sonic ritual, right? And good health and blessings to you all. And I can only say, like, you know, it's a scary fucking world out there, and we have to make our way inch by inch and not make it feel bad about it. You know, it's like, not a time to watch When the Wind Blows. God bless you. And while it might not be the time to watch Where the Wind Blows, it might be the time to watch Threads. Alright. Look after yourselves and each other.